Hey everyone, it's Rachel back again with another reaction video. Today I am going to be listening to Cold by Before I Turn, which is off of their full-length album Lovelorn. The full thing dropped this month, half of it had dropped earlier this year. I've done a few reactions off of it, I've talked about it and how much I thoroughly enjoyed the first half of this album, and I am doing the same with the second half. It's been awesome, so I'm stoked to check this out. This will be the final song I'm reacting to off this album because it is end of the year and I need to get everything listened to in time to judge it for album of the year list. So unfortunately I couldn't do a full album reaction as much as I wanted to, but I'm still here, gonna do a reaction for Cold, and then I will see where it places in my album of the year list. So that is what today is going to be about. I'm gonna stop talking and we're gonna get straight into it. There it is. Those vocals. Stuttering effect on this one too. I don't know what that is. Oh, those vocals right there. That was it for me. Unless... no. Okay, so Before I Turn, Cold, let's discuss. This song fits right in, I feel like, with the rest of the album. It's exactly what I'm hoping and looking for from this band off of this album. And speaking of this album, I have to say that this is, prior to listening to this track, I knew it was pretty high up in my top 10, but I think it's in my top 5 of this year. I'm gonna have to sit down after this and really listen to it again and put it up against other stuff this year. It's been incredibly hard to rank stuff. I've talked about this a few times. Ranking stuff this year has not been easy. It's been an incredible year for releases. Incredible is, it almost feels like the wrong word because I need something different to explain how magnificent, or whatever you want to say, these releases have been this year. And normally don't get me wrong, it's normally hard to rank albums every year, but this year has just been something else. My lists are way longer and it's more difficult for me. It's not as set in stone. Like last year, I felt like when this time of year came up, I didn't really even have to think too much about what my top 5 were. I just knew. And this year, there are a ton of releases, and some of them just walk such a thin line because they're so good, and I jam them all so often. I've also been listening to more music this year than ever, so this album is no different, something I'm very impressed with. Before I Turn nailed it on this one. I think that they were able to, so if you listen along this album, it tells a story. There are 2 different parts to the story. It's a sad story. And I think that something that I really appreciate about this album is how well they were able to nail down that ambience and not only lyrically reflect the story they were telling, but musically I felt like an instrumental version of the album could potentially tell the same story, which is something that is really hard to do. I feel like a lot of times that's not the case, or a lot of times, for me at least, if there were to be an instrumental album, I'm like, I really like the album better with lyrics and words and stuff. But this is one I feel like I could get down to either or. The mix was also incredible on this. I saw that Randy Pasquarella did the mixing for this album, so that's really awesome. He's in another band that's amazing called If I Were You, so if you are not familiar with Randy, that is who he is. I think he knocked it out of the park with the mix on this album. I already talked about it in one of these reactions, I think, but I just wanted to touch on it again, how much I love how prominent Before I Turn makes the bass as well. Before I Turn is one of the bands who I think has my favorite bass, which I don't know how often you're able to really say that, because I feel like bass is an instrument that could be used a lot more than it is with a lot of songs and a lot of music. Like, bass is used and it's the structure of a lot of songs, but there are certain bands like Before I Turn that I feel like use it as the structure, but also they make it stand out, so it's something that you notice in the mix too. Because a lot of times if it's like, a more simple bass line, or it's lower in the mix or whatever, you don't hear it as much or something like that. But with Before I Turn, you'll have like these awesome, very up front and center in the mix bass lines that are just super grooving, and I love to hear that. So if you know any other bands that do some stuff like that kind of fall in this realm of stuff that I react to on my channel, let me know in the comments, because I have been obsessing over that lately. Every time I hear a nice bass line like that, the song reaches a new level for me. So if you know any other bands that are doing stuff like that, let me know in the comments, because I would love to check them out. That is one of my favorite things I think about Before I Turn. It's hard to say, because something else that I wanted to bring up during this too that I've only recently noticed is, in a lot of my reaction videos, I say either they have a lot of electronic elements or they're incorporating symphonic elements, and it's either one or the other. But Before I Turn is a band that's incorporating both. So we're getting those symphonic elements that I love so dearly. We are getting some electronic stuff that sounds really good in the mix as well. So all of this, it's kind of like a grab bag of things that I've been enjoying off of the channel, I feel like, this year, along with just like my normal style, like the clean vocals, as I've said before about Before I Turn. I love them. This track definitely, I think I already said it, but this track definitely has my favorite chorus off of the second half of the album. It's amazing and already stuck in my head. Plus, some of the vocal lines were just a bit different than what we've heard. I feel like on the rest of this album had a bit more like drawn out raw emotion to them almost, or something. I'm not even sure, but I love them. This is one of my favorite tracks off the album for sure. So For me, I love Before I Turn. They're using a lot of stuff that I really enjoy seeing, those bass lines, the symphonic stuff, the electronic stuff, along with just some really good metalcore. So, of course, I love this. I'm blown away by this album so far. Now I've heard the full thing, so I need to go back and start listening again and figuring out where this is going to go on my list. Let me know in the comments if this made it onto your album of the year list and what you thought of this album/song. And if you have an unrelated song that you would like to see added to either of the lists that I work off of when I'm doing request-based videos, both links will be in the description. Dogs. Both links will be in the description, as well as the invite link for the Discord server, which we have had a bunch of new people joining lately, which has been super awesome. If you're interested in joining, coming to chat with us, hang out, the link will be in the description. I say it on every video, but I love the Discord server. It's an amazing group of people, an awesome little community, so the link will be in the description if you are interested in coming to join us there. And lastly, if you are enjoying the style of music, bands, and content that I post on my YouTube channel, I post more music-related content on Instagram. My handle there is Rachel Reacts, just like my YouTube channel, but I will put it up here on the screen for you as well. Oh wait, new camera over here on the screen for you. Did I do that wrong yesterday? Anyway, I will put it up here on the screen for you if you're interested in following me. I will also put the link in the description so I don't have to worry about what side of the screen it's on, I guess. Anyway, that is that. This is such a struggle right now. As always, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it.